Hello and welcome to Verily Magazine's voice message while you were out. This is Mary Rose Somarriba, editor-in-chief of Verily Magazine, and Margaret Brady is with me, associate editor of Verily, and we're in Cleveland.
Hi, Mary Rose.
Thank you so much for joining me again, Maggie. We have some news about this podcast. We're now on Spotify. We're going to just jump right into some news, some noteworthy news this week. So let's start with, what is it? OpenAI, Scarlett Johansson.
Yes. So Scarlett Johansson's voice was apparently stolen by OpenAI. Well, that's sort of the accusation. She said that she had released a statement that last September she got an offer from Sam Altman, who's the head of OpenAI, the tech wonderkind, and he wanted her to voice voice the AI for ChatGPT 4.0, because their new feature is that you can have voice chats with their AI. And she said, no, I don't want to get involved in that. And so they went ahead and released their new Chat GPT 4.0 with 5 different voices available. And one of them, named Sky, is eerily similar to Scarlett Johansson. So she described herself as shocked and angry. OpenAI claims they had hired the voice actor before talking to Scarlett about it. But I'm not sure how believable that is. Scarlett played way back in, I think it was 2013. She played the voice of an AI chatbot in a movie called Her, which won a bunch of Oscars at the time. So, and Sam Altman, even on X, formerly known as Twitter, when this new product dropped, he just posted Her. So clearly, not great on their part.
Oh my gosh, it's so brazen.
Yeah. So they've removed her voice, or the voice that sounds like Scarlett Johansson, but it's just an example, of how creatives and AI don't necessarily mix. One of the big critiques also of these AI chat voices traditionally is that, these tech guys usually pick a woman's voice for the sex factor. And, Scarlett actually played, the AI she plays in Her has a sexual relationship with the main character. Sam, what are you thinking about here?
Exploitative. Ugh, this is gross. I mean, I liked Joaquin Phoenix as an actor very much, but I was a little bit screamed out in Her, the movie, back then. I do appreciate films that bring into question some of these ethical problems, and I thought that film somewhat did. AI is a little bit more of a reality than it seemed to us back then. It's more in our daily lives available to us.
So, Scarlett said, in a time when we are all grappling with deep fakes and the protection of our own likeness, our own work, our own identities, I believe these are questions that deserve absolute clarity. She got what she wanted at this time. They took down the voice, but just disturbing. ScarJo striking a blow for humans against the computers.
Yeah, well, way to go, Scarlett Johansson. Way to go for speaking up. It just grosses me out when people do this, big high-tech people just trying to get away with something, seeing if they'll get by. But I'm glad that she stood up and called him out. So, and that some actions were taken. Which, this concept of AI and likenesses was in the news not long ago with Taylor Swift. And you wrote about that at Verily.
I did. So Taylor Swift had a situation where deepfake porn was being made of her, similar to maybe Scarlett Johansson's voice. It's where the most personal parts of who we are as people can just be sort of stripped from us and turned into content or turned into a product. So it's not unlike what Taylor went through, where you suddenly discover that out in public is your image or your voice. I mean, thank God. But it's still a disturbing breach of privacy and decency.
In other news, there was something interesting in a sort of arts and culture debate this week out of Australia, and that was regarding an artist, Vincent Namatjira, and he's an artist who in 2020 became the first Indigenous person to win Australia's top portrait contest. Interesting, the Archibald Prize. But what he's gotten a lot of attention for this week is one of his focal points of one of his portraits was a woman who's not at all pleased.
Yes. So Gina Reinhardt, she is heiress to a mining fortune. She's fabulously wealthy, the richest woman in Australia. And this artist, Vincent, has made a couple portraits of her, one in particular. You can look online and see it. He has these 2 portraits of her in the National Gallery of Australia as part of a display, a project where it's satirical paintings that he's done. And his portrait of her is not at all flattering. It's not an incredibly good likeness either. It's definitely a caricature. Reinhardt's a public figure. She's a philanthropist, and she got her money from mining, which has harmed a lot of Indigenous communities in Australia. So that's probably where Mr. Namatjira is coming from with his portrayal of her. She reached out to the NGA and asked them to take the portraits down. She got some support from other people in Australia. She got this Olympic medalist swimmer, Kyle Chalmers, to join her petition to take the art down on the grounds that it's mean. She's a major funder of Australian swimming. That's probably why he did that. So ultimately they said no. I mean, good for them. National Gallery of Australia said, no, we're keeping these up. The arts minister, Tony Burke, said, if all purchase had to be flattering, a lot of artists and every cartoonist in the country would be out of a job. The National Association for the Visual Arts said Ms. Reinhardt has the right to express her opinions about the art, but exerting pressure on the gallery for removal of the painting simply because she dislikes it sets a dangerous precedent. It's not like she's a private person. We can't really be too sorry for her. She's got all the money in the world. She could always offer to just buy the painting. At the same time, it's her portrait sort of emphasizes her weight, sort of is not good looking,
Yeah, it's like double or triple chins happening.
Right, with little beady eyes, kind of.
Don't look anything like her. I can appreciate being disappointed in that image, but at the same time, as we look at the gallery in the news photos that I see, the Queen of England, Elizabeth, we see King Charles and other notable figures not looking much better.
Right. He is not the person you hire to paint your portrait because you want to hang it in your front hall.
Right. He's doing some commentary with his imagery here. And definitely a unique style. I get the sense, though, when she asked to have it removed, there's definitely a little entitlement, there's a lot of entitlement sound in that. You take that down.
Right.
I'm displeased. Whereas someone of lesser means whose illustration is on this wall doesn't even think to say anything, even if...
And recruiting the people she's given donations to pressure to, that's a little bit not a good look.
This reminds me of when Beyonce asked photographers to get rid of the unflattering photo of her Super Bowl performance, and that just made it worse.
So Ms. Reinhardt's, I had never heard of her really or her picture, but now I'm talking about it to all of you beautiful Verily readers, so it would have been better just to let it go, I think.
But it also reminds me of another Taylor Swift thing back when, I think it was 2016 or something, when Taylor Swift her image was in a Kanye West video as a wax figure of some sort, a naked Taylor Swift fake image. And then around that time, it was Scooter Braun was, I think, with Kanye in the project like that. And then Scooter Braun ended up buying her whole catalog 5 years ago in 2019. But, and that was so disturbing because of all that backstory. But isn't it lovely from this standpoint? 2024, Taylor Swift is now a billionaire, and her fortune and her artistry and her work stand for itself, whereas nobody's thinking anything anymore about that.
Right. Yeah.
That old video. So I say, if you don't like the art, just let it pass, let it be, let it move on. And art that speaks to people will last. Art that doesn't.
Right. Create your own legacy.
pass.
Don't be so upset that somebody's tried to create it for you.
Well, next up in music news is P. Diddy, or formerly Puff Daddy, had some big scrutiny and some big news this week.
Yeah, I'm glad you said that because I still call him Puff Daddy as well. Sean P. Diddy Combs has admitted to assaulting at the time, his girlfriend, Cassie Ventura, in the hallway of a hotel in 2016. And he was forced to admit this he made an Instagram video post talking about it. He had to do that because CNN got some surveillance video that shows him just pounding Cassie Ventura. Very disturbing video. So last year, in 2023, she had sued him, alleging they were together from 2007 to 2018. And she alleged that during that time, he subjected her to a cycle of abuse, violence, and sex trafficking, including allegedly rape in 2018 when she tried to leave, and she did eventually leave in 2018. So she filed this suit last year, and they settled the suit the day after it was filed. No details released, obviously, on what they decided to compensate Cassie for her treatment. But, it's taken a little while, and now this video has come out basically confirming quite a bit that she had alleged. P. Diddy is not a great guy. He also was in the news earlier in March for the Department of Homeland Security raiding his mansions for alleged sex trafficking. So he's not having a good year, and it's just astonishing. I mean, 2018 is when Me Too really took off, and there's still stuff coming out.
Yeah, Alanis Morissette a couple years ago said it hasn't even cracked the surface in the music industry yet, which is quite disturbing. I mean, we heard the Kesha's allegations, and I don't think she won her case, but those are just heartbreaking stories that we hear murmurs throughout, but this is a huge story to come out. As for the sex trafficking, some people, that phrase might make some people think of a ring of people, but it seems like that Cassie is alleging he would basically lend her out as someone other people related or coming through the doors of his business could have access to sexually, which just to inform you guys, in the United States, sex trafficking is defined as any commercial sex act, including force, fraud, or coercion, or any commercial sex act with a minor, which is implying those things. And so if what she alleged about the trafficking is true, then it sounds like commercial business relationships and sex acts taking place without her consent. And of course, all of those are rape because there's force involved. That's how sometimes people, I think Weinstein also had an allegation of sex trafficking. It's if it involves some commercial, some passage of money or some thing like that, or you're selling a woman as a part of a business deal,
right, using her to sweeten the deal, basically.
That's where there's a commercial exchange taking place, and if it's a sex act, then there you go. And I just am overall, I'm disappointed. I'm saddened by all the horrible news of sex trafficking, but I am glad it's getting more attention because it has been a worldwide problem and a domestic problem in the United States that I've studied for the last 12 years since I had a journalism fellowship on it. So I'm happy to see it getting more widespread scrutiny, even in big name people like Puff Daddy or Harvey Weinstein. And it just goes to show that with Cassie's allegations and the settlement, that the truth comes out in the end. And she was vindicated. So don't give up the ship.
Right. God bless you, Cassie.
There's a funny story. Well, I don't know if it's funny, but
it's tragic. So Red Lobster has had to file bankruptcy. They're not going out of business just yet. They're filing the type of bankruptcy where you reorganize and try and come back. And so their troubles were exacerbated last summer when they made their $20 endless shrimp promotion a permanent thing. Endless shrimp at Red Lobster. They decided to put that on the menu so you could have it every day. And that change cost them $11 million. They apparently anticipated that restaurant traffic would go up 20%, but it went up 40%. Their shrimp has turned their profits to shrimp. Yeah. So, and of course, Red Lobster, they've already had problems. They are the quintessential boomer fast food, seafood restaurant. But millennials and Gen Z are just not going for Red Lobster. They want more quality seafood when they have it. So, Red Lobster, they were great for the fast casual trend of like 15, 20 years ago, but not anymore.
Shucks, not even Beyonce's lyric could help about taking her man to Red Lobster. Well, maybe it brought the whole beehive and that just was too much.
Could be.
Well, with that, I want to encourage all you readers, if you haven't already, to subscribe to Verily Magazine in print. If you need to renew, now's a great time. The summer issue is just finishing up. It's the Dreams issue. You can subscribe for $60 a year, which is about $15 an issue quarterly. Or you can pay $5 a month for the same thing if that's easier. It's the same price, just split into 12 months. A lot of us were willing to buy a streaming service for something more than that. We can stream healthy media into our offline reading, into our hands. We can build ourselves back up in our self-image and counter all this junk that's out there. So even though some of the news we cover here is tough stuff, we want to bring us all back to the positives. The stories that we share at verilymag.com and at the magazine are all aiming to uplift and empower you. So do yourself a favor if you haven't already and subscribe ASAP, and you'll get right on board in time for our summer issue. So thank you for listening, and this has been your Verily voice message while you were out.